Captain Alan Mitchell stood tall on the shiny floor of the alien ship. His blue uniform felt tight across his broad shoulders. He was the first human to visit the Galactic Council's main ship, and he felt all the eyes in the room watching him. Alan was used to being stared at. At 6 feet 4 inches tall with strong muscles from growing up on Earth's heavy gravity, he looked like a giant to most alien species. The aliens called Earth a death world because it was so dangerous compared to their home planets. "Welcome, human Mitchell," said Counselor Ziv, a small green being with 4 arms and large purple eyes. "The Galactic Council is pleased to meet with Earth's representative." Alan nodded politely. "Thank you for inviting us. Earth is honored to join the galactic community." He noticed how the guards along the walls held their weapons tighter when he moved. They were afraid of him. This wasn't a surprise. His briefing had explained that most Council species evolved on safe planets with few predators and mild weather. To them, humans were scary creatures from a nightmare world. "Please sit," Counselor Ziv said, pointing to a chair that looked too small and fragile for Alan's frame. Alan sat carefully, feeling the chair bend under his weight. "I bring greetings from Earth's United Government. We look forward to peaceful trade and sharing knowledge." A tall, thin alien with blue skin and no hair stepped forward. "I am Counselor Drell of the Science Division. We have many questions about humans." His voice sounded like metal scraping on glass. "Your species survived on a planet with extreme gravity, deadly predators, and violent weather. Your bodies can heal from injuries that would kill most Council species. You can live in temperature ranges that would freeze or burn others." Alan smiled, trying to look friendly. "We're just adapted to our homeworld, like you are to yours." Another counselor joined them, this one floating in a clear bubble filled with green liquid. "The question, human Mitchell, is whether your kind can adapt to civilization." Alan felt his smile fade. "What do you mean by that?" Counselor Ziv looked uncomfortable. "What Counselor Plex means is that joining the Council requires certain adjustments, especially for species from death worlds." A screen appeared in the air between them, showing a list in alien writing that Alan's translator converted to English. He read it silently, his face growing darker with each line. "Let me make sure I understand," Alan said slowly. "You want Earth to reduce its fleet by 70%. You want humans to take calming drugs when visiting Council worlds. You want limits on how many humans can gather in one place. And you want Council approval before we can settle new planets. These are standard requirements for Death World species," Counselor Drell said, "for the safety and comfort of all." Alan stood up, making several aliens step back in fear. "On Earth we have a saying, all beings are created equal. This agreement doesn't treat humans as equals." "Please understand," Counselor Ziv said quickly. "These measures are temporary. In a few hundred years, once your species has proven itself, humans—" "Don't live for hundreds of years," Alan interrupted, "and we didn't come all this way to be treated like dangerous animals." The room grew quiet. Alan looked around at the alien faces. Some showed fear, others showed anger, and a few showed something that might have been respect. "The Council has existed for 10,000 years, Counselor Plex said from inside his bubble. "Our ways have kept peace among 1,000 worlds. Who are you to question them?" Alan straightened his back. "I'm a human from Earth. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own foolishness. We've learned that real peace can only exist between equals. So while we appreciate your invitation, we cannot accept these terms." "You would reject Council membership?" Counselor Ziv asked, sounding shocked. "No," Alan replied. "I'm asking the Council to reject its fear. Judge us by our actions, not by the world that shaped us." Counselor Drell made a strange noise. "This is without precedent. No species has ever dared." "Then it's about time someone did," Alan said. "Humanity says no to these terms. We respect your concerns, but we won't accept second-class status." Tall, insect-like alien that had been silent until now stepped forward. Its hard outer shell gleamed under the lights. "The human shows courage. Perhaps we should consider his words." "Thank you, Counselor Vex." Ziv said, looking surprised. Don't thank me, Vex replied, mandibles clicking. I fear the human is dangerous, but refusing to see his kind as thinking beings is equally dangerous. Alan nodded to the insect counselor. All we ask is the chance to prove ourselves as allies, not subjects. Counselor Ziv looked at the other council members. We will discuss your position, Human Mitchell. Please return to your ship while we consider. As Alan walked out of the council chamber, he could hear the heated debate begin behind him. He had no idea if they would listen, but for the first time in Galactic Council history, a Deathworlder had said no, and they had no choice but to hear it. Back on his ship, Lieutenant Susan Reed was waiting. How did it go, Captain? Alan sighed. Either very well or very badly. I'm not sure yet. What happens now? She asked. Alan looked out the viewport at the massive council station shining against the darkness of space. Now we wait to see if the council can overcome 10,000 years of thinking they know best, Susan smiled. If anyone could make them change their minds, it's you, sir. It's not about me, Alan said. It's about humanity's place in the stars. We didn't come this far to bow our heads and accept chains, no matter how nicely they're presented. The ship's communication system beeped. Captain Mitchell, came Counselor Ziv's voice. The council requests your presence again. We have a counteroffer. Alan straightened his uniform. Well, that was faster than I expected. Looks like saying no got their attention. As he walked back toward the shuttle bay, Alan knew this was just the beginning. Humanity's journey to find its place among the stars would not be easy, but taking a stand was the first step, and sometimes the most important word any species could learn was no. Captain Alan Mitchell walked back into the council chamber with a straight back and steady eyes. The aliens watched him closely as he stood in the center of the room. The air felt cold and tense. Human Mitchell, Counselor Ziv said. We have discussed your concerns. The council proposes new terms. A new list appeared in the air. Alan read it carefully. The council still wanted limits on human ships and weapons. They still wanted to watch human colonies, but they had removed the worst parts about drugs and strict limits on human gatherings. This is better, Alan admitted. But still not equal treatment. Counselor Drell made an angry sound. You push too far, human. The council has never changed its rules for new members before. Perhaps that is why we should, said Counselor Vex, the insect-like alien. Our old ways may not serve us in new times. A new alien stepped forward. This one had red scales and yellow eyes. I am Counselor Myth of the Trade Guild. I have a different proposal. Everyone turned to look at the scaled alien. The fringe worlds in Sector 7 have reported attacks on their ships, Myth said. The council fleet is busy with other matters. If Earth truly wishes to be an ally, perhaps your ships could help? Alan saw the trap immediately. They wanted to test human ships and weapons. They wanted to see how humans fought. You ask for our help while still treating us with suspicion, Alan said. Not suspicion, Myth replied smoothly. Caution. Show us that humans can use their strength to protect, not harm. Alan thought for a moment. I will discuss this with Earth Command, but understand this, if we help, we do so as equals, not as your soldiers for hire. He left the chamber again and returned to his ship. His communication officer was waiting with news. Captain, we've detected unusual transmissions between the Trade Guild and unknown ships near Sector 7, Lieutenant Susan said. They don't match official council channels. Alan frowned. Can you decode them? Susan shook her head. Not yet, but the pattern suggests they're coordinating something. So Counselor Myth might be setting us up, Alan said. Get me Earth Command, and then find out everything you can about these attacks in Sector 7. 2 hours later, Admiral Doug Jones appeared on the ship's screen. Alan explained the situation. It's obviously a test, the Admiral said. They either want to see our capabilities or lead us into a trap. I agree, Alan said. But refusing would play into their fears that humans won't help others. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Go to Sector 7, but not alone. I'm sending the Washington and the Phoenix to join you. Investigate, but do not engage unless civilian lives are at risk. Understood, Admiral. And Captain, the Admiral added, remember you represent all of humanity now. What you do will shape how the galaxy sees us for generations. After the call ended, Susan approached with a data pad. Sir, I've found something. The attacked ships all belong to small colonies that oppose trade guild policies. And look at this. She showed him a map of the attacked locations. Alan studied it. They're all close to major trade routes the guild wants to control. Yes, sir. And I managed to partially decode one transmission. It mentioned making an example of the next colony ship. Alan's face hardened. They're not just testing us. They're using us to eliminate their competition. What do we do, Captain? Alan looked at the star chart showing Sector 7. We spring their trap, but not the way they expect. Set course for Sector 7. 3 days later, the Intrepid arrived at New Hope Colony in Sector 7. The Washington and Phoenix joined soon after, taking positions behind the small planet's moons. Captain, Susan called from her station. We're detecting 8 ships approaching the colony. Their weapons are powered and ready. Hail them, Alan ordered. A scaled face similar to Counselor Myth's appeared on screen. This is Captain Vrex, of the Free Traders. Leave this system immediately. This is Captain Mitchell of Earth. You're planning to attack a civilian colony. Power down your weapons. Vrex laughed. The Council has no authority here, human. I'm not representing the Council, Alan said calmly. I represent Earth, and we do not allow attacks on civilians. You are 1 ship against 8, Vrex sneered. Even human strength has limits. Alan smiled. That's where you're wrong. He signaled to Susan, who pressed a button. Suddenly, the Washington and Phoenix appeared from behind the moons. At the same time, small drones launched from all 3. Earthships surrounding the attackers and scanning them completely. As you can see, we're not alone, Alan said. And our drones have just mapped your ships and sent the data to the colony and the Council, including your communication codes. Vrex's yellow eyes widened in shock. Yes, Alan continued. We know. You work for the Trade Guild. We've decoded your orders to attack this colony and make it look like pirates. The Council now has this evidence too. You're bluffing, Vrex hissed. Am I? Alan asked. Check your secure channels. Vrex looked off screen, his face showing panic as someone spoke to him. You have 1 chance, Alan said. Leave this system now and never return, or find out why Earth is called a death world. The 8 ships quickly turned and fled. When Alan reported back to the Council, he made sure the colony leader was included in the call. The attacks have been stopped, he said. And we've sent proof that these pirates were working for the Trade Guild. The Council chamber erupted in shock and argument. Counselor Myth was surrounded by security guards. This is most disturbing, Counselor Ziv said finally. Captain Mitchell, the Council thanks Earth for exposing this plot. We didn't do it for thanks, Alan replied. We did it because protecting innocent lives is what humans do. Perhaps, Counselor Vex said. We have misjudged your kind. You used your strength to protect, not conquer. That is what Earth has been trying to tell you, Alan said. We want to be partners in keeping the peace, not subjects to be controlled. The Council members looked at each other. Something had changed in their eyes when they looked at Alan. There was still caution, but the fear was fading. In its place was something new. Respect. The Council will reconsider Earth's membership terms, Ziv announced. What you have done today shows us that perhaps there is more to Deathworlders than we understood. As Alan ended the transmission, Susan smiled at him. You did it, Captain. You changed their minds. Alan shook his head. Not yet. But we've shown them that saying no to unfair treatment doesn't mean saying no to helping others. That's the human way. He looked out at the stars, thinking about the long road ahead. This is just the beginning of humanity's journey among the stars. But at least now, they're starting to hear us. 1 week after the events in Sector 7, Captain Alan Mitchell stood once again before the Galactic Council. This time the room felt different. The guards still watched him, but their hands no longer hovered near their weapons. Some council members still looked nervous, but others showed interest or even respect. Counselor Ziv spoke first. Captain Mitchell, the evidence you provided about the Trade Guild's actions was clear. Counselor Myth has been removed from the council and faces serious charges. Alan nodded but said nothing. He waited to hear what else they would say. The council has reconsidered Earth's membership terms, Ziv continued. A new document appeared in the air. These revised terms treat Earth as an equal member, with the same rights and duties as other council worlds. Alan read through the new agreement carefully. The unfair restrictions were gone. Earth could keep its fleet. Humans could travel freely. There were still some safety rules, but they applied to all species, not just humans. These terms are acceptable, Alan said. Earth will be pleased to join the council as a full and equal member. Many council members looked relieved. Some even made sounds that Alan's translator identified as applause in their cultures. But Counselor Drell still looked unhappy. I must object. This sets a dangerous precedent. What if other Deathworld species demand the same treatment? Then we will give it to them, Counselor Vex said firmly. The events in Sector 7 have shown us that our fear of Deathworlders was leading us toward injustice. Suddenly, a new alien rushed into the chamber. This one had blue skin that glowed with patches of light. Urgent news, the messenger cried. The Krell ships have crossed the border. They've attacked 3 worlds already. The council erupted, in panic. Alan had been briefed about the Krell, a violent species from beyond council space that had attacked before. How many ships? Counselor Ziv asked, her voice shaking. 30 battlecruisers, the messenger said. They broke through our defense line in Sector 12. The council fleet is trying to stop them, but what? Vex demanded. They're failing. 2 council worlds have already surrendered. The room fell silent with fear. Alan stepped forward. What are the Krell's demands? The messenger looked at Alan with surprise, not used to seeing a human. They demand council worlds provide resources and workers. Those who refuse are destroyed. Alan turned to Counselor Ziv. Earth can help. Our ships are built for combat and our crews are trained for battle. This is not your fight, human, Counselor Drell said. Yes, it is, Alan replied firmly. If Earth is joining the council, then council problems are Earth problems too. Counselor Vex clicked his mandibles in approval. The human speaks wisely. Zivi looked at Alan with new eyes. How quickly can Earth forces respond? I can call Earth Command immediately. We have a rapid response fleet that can be here within 2 days. But I need all the information you have on Krell ships, their weapons, and tactics. The council quickly agreed. Alan returned to his ship and contacted Admiral Jones. The situation is serious, Alan explained after sharing the Krell information. The council defenses weren't prepared for such a large attack. The Admiral nodded. I'll send the second fleet, 10 of our best ships with full crews. But Captain Mitchell, this is a big step. Are you sure the council is worth fighting for? Alan thought about this. They're learning, Admiral. And if we want a better galaxy, sometimes we have to help build it. Very well. The fleet will arrive at your position in 48 hours. Until then, you're our eyes and ears. Learn everything you can about these Krell. The next day, Alan joined a council war meeting. The news was bad. 5 worlds had fallen and the Krell were moving deeper into council space. Our ships are faster, a council military leader explained, but their weapons are stronger. We lose 3 ships for every one of theirs we disable. What about the people on the captured worlds? Alan asked. The alien officer looked down. The Krell take what they want: minerals, technology, food. Anyone who resists is killed. The rest become workers. Alan felt anger growing inside him. This was exactly what humans had always feared about meeting alien life. Conquerors who saw other species as resources to use up. Show me their attack pattern, Alan said. A map appeared showing the Krell ship's path through council space. They're avoiding heavily defended worlds and targeting easier ones first, Alan observed. That suggests they're cautious despite their strength. Yes, the officer agreed. They take the easiest path to victory. Alan studied the map more carefully. There's a pattern here. They're following resource-rich worlds in a specific order. He pointed to a star system. I think this is their next target, the Bren system. The council officers looked at the system. Bren has large mineral deposits and a small defense force, one admitted. Your logic is sound. Then we need to be ready for them there, Alan said. Not with a direct confrontation, but with a trap. He outlined his plan. The council officers were skeptical at first, but they had few options left. It might work, the senior officer said finally, but it would require perfect timing. That's why we need to start now, Alan said, before the Earth fleet arrives. For the next 24 hours, Alan worked with the council forces to prepare the trap. Small, fast ships were positioned around the Bren system. Others were hidden, among the asteroids and moons. Not enough to defeat the Krell, but enough for what Alan had planned. As predicted, the Krell fleet arrived at Bren the next day. 5 massive battlecruisers, their black hulls covered with weapons. They're scanning the planet, reported a council officer from their hidden command post. Wait for my signal, Alan said. He watched as the Krell ships moved into position above, Bren's largest continent. Now, Alan ordered. All at once, the hidden council ships fired special devices toward the Krell vessels. These weren't weapons, but powerful scanning drones created with Earth technology. Before the Krell could react, the drones attached to their ships and began mapping everything. Their hull design, weapon systems, shield generators, and even internal layouts. We've got it all, the officer reported excitedly. Complete scans of their ships. Retreat immediately, Alan ordered. The small council ships quickly jumped away before the Krell could catch them. Hours later, when the Earth fleet arrived, Admiral Jones was impressed by the data they had gathered. This is exactly what we needed, the Admiral said. Now we know their weaknesses. And they don't know we're coming, Alan added. They still think they're only fighting council ships. Admiral Jones looked at the council officers present. Together, we can stop them. Are you ready to fight alongside Earth? The alien officers stood straighter. Yes, their leader said. It's time to show the Krell that the council is not as weak as they think. Alan smiled. This was what he had hoped for since first meeting the council. Not fear or suspicion, but cooperation and shared purpose. Earth had said no to being treated as lesser beings, but it was saying yes to standing with others against a common threat. As the combined fleet prepared for battle, Alan knew that the real victory was already won. The council was beginning to see humans not as dangerous Deathworlders but as valuable allies. And sometimes saying no to the wrong thing led to saying yes to the right one. The combined Earth and Council fleet gathered at a hidden location near the Bren system. 10 powerful Earth ships stood out among the smaller Council vessels. Admiral Jones led the meeting from the bridge of his flagship, the Liberty. Thanks to Captain Mitchell's plan, we know the Krell ships inside and out, the Admiral said. He pointed to a 3D model floating in the center of the room. Their hulls are strong, but they have weak points here, here, and here. The council officers studied the model carefully. Even with this knowledge, we are outnumbered, one said. The Krell have 30 battlecruisers. Numbers aren't everything, Alan replied. What matters is how we use what we have. Admiral Jones nodded. Captain Mitchell is right. We won't win by fighting the Krell directly. We need to be smarter. He explained the battle plan. The Earth ships would lead the attack, drawing the Krell's attention. Meanwhile, smaller Council ships would target the weak points identified in the scans. But the most important part is this, the Admiral continued. We need to capture one of their ships intact. From the scans, we believe the Krell follow orders from a central command. If we can access their communication systems, we can disrupt their entire fleet. Capture a Krell ship? A council officer asked in disbelief. No one has ever done that before. Alan smiled. Then it's time someone did. The next day, the Krell attacked another world, just as predicted. This time, they found the combined fleet waiting for them. Krell ships detected, Lieutenant Susan reported from her station on the Intrepid. 5 battle cruisers. All ships, battle positions, Admiral Jones ordered. Earth vessels, move forward as planned. The Earth ships advanced, their shields at full power. The Krell, seeing these unknown vessels, focused their weapons on them. Bright beams of energy struck the Earth ships, but their advanced shields held. They're targeting us as expected, Allen reported. Council vessels, begin your approach. The smaller, faster Council ships darted forward, staying in the shadow of the Earth vessels until the last moment. Then they broke formation, each targeting a specific point on the Krell ships. Now, Allen ordered. The Council ships fired with perfect precision, hitting the weak spots identified in the scans. 2 Krell cruisers lost power to their weapons. Another began drifting, its engines disabled. Liberty, to all ships, Admiral Jones called. Target the isolated cruiser, disable but do not destroy. The Earth ships concentrated their fire on one Krell vessel, carefully targeting its engines and weapons while avoiding critical systems. The massive ship tried to retreat, but it was too late. Their shields are down, Susan reported. They're sending distress signals to the other Krell ships. Jam their communications, Allen ordered. Boarding teams prepare to launch. 5 small shuttles left the Liberty, racing toward the disabled Krell ship. Inside them were specially trained Earth soldiers. Allen had insisted on leading one of the teams himself. This is our chance to end this war quickly, he told his team as their shuttle approached the Krell ship. We need to reach their command center and access their communication systems. The shuttles attached to the hull of the Krell ship. The soldiers cut through using special tools, then entered the alien vessel. Inside they found dark corridors and strange technology. The air was thick and hot, making it hard to breathe. They moved forward carefully, following the ship plans, created from the scans. Contact, one soldier called as tall armored figures appeared ahead. These were Krell warriors, their bodies covered in black armor with glowing red lines. The Krell fired strange weapons that shot balls of energy. The Earth soldiers took cover and returned fire. Their weapons, designed based on the scan data, were able to penetrate the Krell armor. We need to keep moving, Allen said. Team 2, create a diversion. The rest of us will push toward the command center. Team 2 set off down a side corridor, drawing many of the Krell warriors after them. Allen led the remaining soldiers forward, fighting through smaller groups of Krell. Finally, they reached a large door that matched the location of the command center on their maps. Set the charges, Allen ordered. One soldier placed small explosives around the door seals. Fire in the hole, he called. Everyone took cover as the charges blew, breaking the door open. Allen was first through the smoke, weapon ready. Inside, they found 5 Krell commanders, larger than the warriors and wearing more elaborate armor. Nobody move, Allen shouted, though he wasn't sure if the Krell could understand him. The Krell commanders reached for weapons but stopped when they saw they were outnumbered. Allen pointed to what appeared to be the main control console. Get to work, he told, the tech specialist on his team. Find their communication systems. The specialist connected a device to the Krell console. I'm in, she said after a few minutes. Their system is complex but follows patterns similar to what we expected. Can you send a fleet-wide message? Allen asked. Yes, sir. And more importantly, I can send a shutdown code to all their ships. Allen looked at the Krell commanders who watched them with what might have been fear or rage. It was hard to tell with aliens so different from humans. Do it, he ordered. The specialist entered commands. On her screen, they could see signals going out to all Krell ships in Council space. Throughout the battle, Krell ships suddenly lost power. Their weapons went silent, their engines stopped, and their shields fell. It worked, Susan's voice came over Allen's communicator. All Krell ships are disabled. Send the surrender message, Allen told the specialist. She sent another signal. On the screens around the command center, they could see the faces of other Krell commanders as they received the message. There were angry roars and what sounded like arguments, but eventually, one by one, they signaled their surrender. The battle was over. The combined Earth and Council fleet moved in to secure the disabled Krell ships. Within hours, What had looked like the beginning of a long, destructive war had ended in victory. When Alan returned to the Liberty, Admiral Jones was waiting. "Well done, Captain. The Council is already calling this the most important victory in centuries." "We couldn't have done it without their help," Alan said. "Their ships, our strategies, and both our people's courage." The Admiral smiled. "That's exactly what I told the Council High Command. This victory belongs to all of us." Later, as Alan looked out at the stars from the Intrepid's viewport, Susan joined him. "The Council has been sending messages non-stop," she said. "They're calling you a hero." Alan shook his head. "I'm just a soldier who did his job. The real victory is what this means for humans and the Council. They see now that we're stronger together than apart." Susan nodded. "When you first said no to their unfair terms, I was worried we might never join the Council. Now it looks like we'll be leading it." "Not leading," Alan corrected. "Working together as equals. That's what we wanted all along." As the fleet prepared to return to Council space, Alan knew that the galaxy had changed forever. A Deathworlder had said no to being feared and controlled, and in doing so, had helped save the very people who once feared him. 1 month after the defeat of the Krell, Captain Alan Mitchell stood in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council. The room was filled with representatives from all Council worlds. For the first time, Earth had its own seat at the Great Round Table. Alan wore his formal uniform with new medals pinned to his chest. Next to him stood Admiral Jones and several other Earth officers. They waited quietly as Councillor Ziv addressed the assembly. "Today marks a historic moment," Ziv said. "We welcome Earth as a full member of the Galactic Council. Their bravery and wisdom helped save many worlds from the Krell threat." The hall erupted in sounds of approval. Many species had their own ways of showing happiness or respect. Some flashed colored lights from their bodies. Others hummed or clicked or waved various limbs. "Captain Mitchell," Ziv continued, "please step forward." Alan walked to the center of the hall. The stone floor was cool under his feet. Lights from above made his new medals shine. "In the short time since we met humans, they have taught us important lessons," Ziv said. "They showed us that different does not mean dangerous. They showed us that strength can protect as well as harm. Most importantly, they showed us that our old fears were holding us back from new friendships." Councillor Vec stepped forward, his insect-like body moving gracefully despite its hard shell. "The Krell believed we were weak. For too long, perhaps we were. We let fear guide our decisions. We treated potential friends as threats." He turned to face Alan directly. "When Captain Mitchell said no to our unfair demands, we thought he was being difficult. Now we understand he was being honest. Sometimes saying no to the wrong path is the first step toward finding the right one." Admiral Jones was invited to speak next. He stepped forward with slow, careful movements. The Admiral was older than Alan, with gray hair and lines on his face from years of responsibility. "Earth thanks the Council for this welcome," the Admiral said. "We came to the stars hoping to find friends, not subjects or masters. Today shows that different species can work together as equals when they respect each other." He gestured to the Earth officers. "We are strong because our world shaped us to be survivors. But we use that strength to build, not destroy. To protect, not conquer. This is the human way." After the speeches, there was a celebration. Food and drinks from many worlds were shared. Music from different cultures played. Alan found himself surrounded by aliens who wanted to meet the famous human captain. "Is it true that you personally led the boarding of the Krell ship?" asked a small, furry alien with large eyes. "I was part of a team," Alan said modestly. "Every soldier there showed great courage. But you were the first through the door," the alien insisted, "despite the danger." Alan smiled. "On Earth we have a saying, leaders go first into danger and last to safety." Across the room, Susan was talking with some young Council officers. They were comparing notes on ship designs and battle tactics. Already, humans and Council species were learning from each other. Later, Councillor Ziv found Alan alone by a large window. Outside, stars shined in the darkness of space. "Captain Mitchell," she said softly, "I owe you an apology. When we first met, I saw only a dangerous creature from a deadly world. And now? Alan asked. Now I see that the challenges of your world made your people stronger, not crueler. You fought harder because you had to fight your whole history. You value peace more because you know the cost of war. Alan nodded. Earth's history has many dark chapters. We fought each other for too long before we learned to work together. Perhaps that's why we understand the value of respect and cooperation. The Council has existed for 10,000 years, Ziv said. But in just 1 month, humans have changed us more than anyone can remember. Change can be good, Alan replied. The Krell thought the Council was weak and divided, but together we proved them wrong. Ziv made a sound that Alan's translator identified as laughter. Indeed, and now the Krell themselves have requested peace talks. Your capture of their command systems changed everything. What will happen to them? Alan asked. They will be allowed to keep their worlds, but must disarm their warships. Some wish to join the Council eventually as a peaceful member. Alan raised his eyebrows in surprise. That's better than I expected. The Council is learning that inclusion is better than isolation, Ziv said. Another lesson from Earth. The celebration continued into the night. New friendships formed between species that had once feared each other. Plans were made for joint projects, shared research, and combined defense forces. 2 weeks later, Alan stood on the bridge of the Intrepid as it prepared to leave Council space. Their mission was to establish the first human embassy on a distant Council world. Course set, Captain, Susan reported. We can depart when ready. Alan looked at the view screen. The massive Council station slowly rotated against the backdrop of stars. It no longer seemed alien and threatening. Now it was just another wonder, in a galaxy full of possibilities. Captain, a communication officer called. We're receiving messages from many Council worlds. They're wishing us safe travels. Alan smiled. Send back our thanks. Tell them we look forward to working together for a better future. As the Intrepid moved away from the station, Alan thought about how much had changed. It had started with a simple word, no. No to fear, no to inequality, no to the idea that being different meant being enemies. But that no had led to many more important words. Yes to cooperation, yes to mutual respect, yes to new friendships among the stars. The HFY ship's engines hummed as they prepared for the jump to faster-than-light speed. Ahead lay new worlds, new challenges, and new opportunities. The path wouldn't always be easy, but it would be traveled together. Take us forward, Lieutenant, Alan ordered. The stars streaked into lines of light as the Intrepid leaped into the future, a future that had been changed forever by the day a Deathworlder said no in a big way.